Awesome. It works.
Well, hello guys. Nice to meet you all here, and I think for maybe all of us, front-end development is a pain. And yesterday we went to Dead Sea, and I dived and opened my eyes. This is pretty bad for many years of development, and still you're gonna love front-end with BEM, of course. My name is Vladimir, and I'm a head of BEM team, and here is my colleague.
Hi guys, my name is Yelena, and I deal with all of our BEM community, which is big.
We both work for Yandex. That's the largest search engine in Russia, and we have a lot of different services and more than 6,000 employees. But we're going to talk about technology invented at Yandex, about BEM. And I think maybe some of you, sorry, I need to refresh it, and that's all because we need to run it for the first time. Otherwise, we see all the bullets at the beginning. So, first of all, I think some of you may already know very basics of BEM, and I will walk through them quickly. Then we will show you the hidden parts of BEM, which we use at Yandex and mostly in Russian-speaking countries. Then we share the history, how it was invented and what we have today, and show you how to start quickly with all that BEM. So, where all that pain of front-end development came from. Douglas in the morning covered some parts of it, and mostly it's all because actually all these technologies were invented for different things than we actually use them now. And I think all of you felt the pain while reading somebody else's code, and even your own after vacation, yeah? How can you remember what was it all about? And when you want to improve a piece of CSS, how can you be sure it won't ruin something else on a page? And the biggest problem is all about reusing your job. So you spend a lot of time writing code, and then you need just the same piece on a new project. How can you be sure that you just copy-paste it and it will work? I think it actually won't, and that's even hard to understand which parts to copy and paste to get it work. And when you try to find these pieces across your previous project, have you ever been in a situation when you pasted something that looks not so useful now, but, well, just in case, maybe it's still useful? That's all how CSS works, yeah? And even if you somehow managed to reuse your components in a lot of projects, then one day you find that there was a bug in this common code. What to do now? And you may find a library which solves a task you need now. But how can you include it to your current project? They have different APIs, and there is nothing common between different libraries or frameworks. That's yet another pain. And even with all that hype around component approach, there is still no dependency management in CSS. Let's go deeper. So, you may write this tiny piece of CSS and then paste a component to a page, and all the links inside this component will be ruined. Who can say what will be the color of this span? 1. Not sure, yeah? It will be green. Then, will this selector be applied to the sidebar? That's easy. And then you walk through your cascade style sheets. Oops. But here, nobody can render it inside your mind. That's just awful. And reading CSS, you can't tell which DOM nodes will be matched. Still, it's a tiny piece of code. And when you have a huge project with lots of pages and millions of visitors, as we have at Yandex, will you be brave enough to just remove something useless? All will keep it, just in case. We have a treatment for all these things at BEM, and it stands for block, element, and modifier. A block is an independent piece of interface. It's kind of a component in terms of web component specification. And elements are smaller parts which are useless without their parent block. You may think of them as of shadow DOM in web components. And modifiers describe some slight differences between similar blocks. And, which is quite important, they can describe differences in states. Having all these entities, we need a way to somehow write code with them. So we use CSS classes to link BEM entities to DOM nodes. And we use 2 underscores to tell element from block name and yet another underscore to separate modifiers. Modifiers can be Boolean like this or key value pairs. So let's go quick through some of BEM principles. We use just classes, no tags or IDs for selectors. That's easy. We don't use CSS outside of blocks. So each time you need to style something, you should create a block. And we do it to have that reusable pieces, which we can use on every project, on any page. So each block should be independent. And we avoid cascade. Yeah, even in cascade style sheets, we still avoid cascade. And why we have these rules? What if we need more than one menu on a page? How to guess which DOM nodes will be matched with this selector? And I think this piece looks quite fine. Yeah? But what if your project grows? And now it's not so easy to tell. And here comes elements to the rescue. And with just this easy modification, you get rid from the cascade, from all this uncertainty. And quite common task. You need to highlight current item on of a menu. And still, it looks quite reasonable, yeah? But what if you need to add a bit different menu on the page? So, following just these simple rules, you've got possibility to create independent blocks. And now you can be confident that none of them will influence with others. And without cascade, you can easily overwrite any block on your project side. So you can use common components and don't touch the sources. You can just replace any rules you need on a project site. And your code is now self-documented. You don't have all these divs without any semantic. You have descriptive names. But that was the very basics. Now let's go to the real power of BEM. Having all these tips, we can easily build libraries of reusable components and override them on project level, as I already said. Just because CSS works this way, you can import all your components CSS and then import the CSS of your project. Okay, this will work for CSS, but what about JavaScript? What about HTML? Can we use the same approach there? First of all, let's try to collect everything about a block in the same folder. So now we can easily find every part, and when we're trying to reuse it, we can just copy the full folder. Everything will be inside. We can go even further and split blocks into elements and modifiers. So if we've got a block with optional modifiers or optional elements, we can use just the pieces we really need. And to continue, let's introduce one more term, BEM tree. That's an abstraction upon DOM tree. Because, as Douglas said, actually DOM tree wasn't invented to create applications we develop every day. And as so, we need something for us. So you can compare it with using assembler instead of C++, for example. And this abstraction gives you a possibility to use just blocks, elements, and modifiers instead of divs, spans, and other unsemantic stuff. Looking through this declaration of a page in BEM terms, you can walk through file system and collect the pieces you really need on a project. And as we don't write HTML since then, you can give absolute freedom to the developers who create these reusable components to change markup. And then you may update your code without all these search and replace things like what you need when you try to update from previous version of Twitter Bootstrap, for example. And to have proper analogy for JavaScript, let's get back to the past, like this. I think some of you may remember the times when there was no CSS at all. And that was quite handy and cool at the time, because you don't need to create multiple files, use different technologies, everything in the same place, and quite handy, yeah? And then your project grows and grows, and thanks to Declarative CSS, we are out of that hell. There is one important feature of CSS. We can match the same selector, just writing CSS below, and overwrite any rule or add anything else. And it's fine, but what about JavaScript? What about HTML? JavaScript started almost the same way. We have function calls inside attributes on DOM nodes. Then we've got possibility to match any selector and get all the DOM nodes matched, no matter how many they are on a page or how deep they are inside of DOM tree. And then we can call any method on them, yeah? But what if in runtime we change a class, and now there are two blocks with class block on a page? CSS will be applied automatically, yeah? But what about JavaScript? What about this do something method? With BEM, we can use the same selector and get all the blocks called block, and then we can define which methods should be fired when any modifier will be set or removed. So we've got the same as in CSS. You can change modifier in runtime, which means just to add or remove class actually. And then everything you need will be fired automatically. And as in CSS, you can just match the same selector again and override any method or any property. Just write in JavaScript below. Okay, sounds reasonable, and I think that's again not something quite new for you, yeah? But what about HTML? Is the same possible for HTML? Let's first come over how usual templates work. We've got some data, and then we've got a piece of HTML with some placeholders, and template engine will replace these placeholders with data. So we've got HTML again. And when you need to change your markup, you need to walk through all these weather blocks and replace them. But with BEM, we don't use HTML. We have the same data and a BEM tree here in view variable. Then we declare a selector to find all these weather blocks in BEM tree, and then set rules how to render final HTML. And as this is just JavaScript, we can render HTML on server side or in browser. And of course, we can select the same block again and replace any rule. We can change just tag, write in same selector below, or add attributes, change content, add any wrapper. So actually it works absolutely the same way as, for example, XSLT template engine. It's just declarative template engine. You may use anything you want, but the main idea is that you will get the same HTML at the end. And that's the same idea that web components are all about. They also use semantic abstraction on top of HTML, but they still need to mess it with old divs and spans. They also put all the front-end technologies together, and they also try to hide internals with the help of Shadow DOM. But again, we have some problems with privacy for that. And with BEM, we've got same thing, but without HTML at all. And we also put everything together in the same folder. And instead of Shadow DOM, we just use convention with that namespace or block to hide all the elements inside. And of course, we have build process to collect all the blocks through file system to build bundles. And there is no any semantic model across different front-end technologies. And now with BEM, we've got it. Just blocks, elements, and modifiers abstraction for each front-end technology. And how will your development process look like with BEM? You've got that abstraction to think in terms of blocks instead of divs and spans. You split it into different files on file system to easily manipulate them, and everything is declarative. So now you can change anything you want, just where you want it, without interfering with source code of libraries. So you can create these libraries to reuse. And now Yelena will tell you how we get there and what we have today.
Hi everyone. I'm so sorry that I have to bring you back to the problems that Vladimir was starting this presentation today. But I think it's also crucial to understand how the technology was created at the beginning and what it is now, because there is a lot of technologies that appear every day, and not all of them you can find after a season still growing up and updating and developing. So from this old piece of Yandex, you can see all the problems that we had, and with most of these problems you are struggling every day. And even though we have all the modern tools in our hands, but we were facing these problems 10 years ago, when there was basically nothing to cure these problems. So we had to create our own tool. And we basically, 10 years ago, Yandex was just a long list of HTML and a lot of cascade, so we lacked the speed of rendering browsers. And we also, there was a nightmare because we had no naming convention, and we had a lot of services and teams working on these services. So each team was creating their own names for basically the same things. So at the end, it has no meaning at all. And then any interaction that we had with our code because of manual editing was dangerous, because you had to support something and then you change something and ruin the whole project with millions of users, and then supporting was a nightmare, and maintaining and adding new features, and there was we were not talking about reuse, a lot of code that we had at that time. And this is basically how our development process looked like back then, 10 years ago. So at that time we had almost no JavaScript in our projects, but our designers made our interfaces grow, and we had more and more interactions with users on our page, so we had to use more JavaScript, and we had to use more and more technologies, and it became even harder to support and to find anything in our code and to maintain it. So, and who knows what was going on afterwards. And we were growing, we were expanding in terms of services. Now we are 50 plus services, and we grow in terms of people. How many people working on our services? We were working not in one office in Moscow, but in different offices in different countries. We had to work remotely, we had to understand each other. We were recognizing that we're talking with developers, back-end, front-end, with our designers, with managers, about the same things, but using different terms, so we had to do something about this. And then these guys came. The one in the middle, his name is Vitaly, and he's standing right there. So he created BEM. And also Sergey Berezhnoy, who is on the right. And he is leading the interface front-end development at Yandex Search in Moscow. So they together created something that was called independent blocks concept that later became BEM, you know. And yeah, this helped us to get rid of Cascade finally and speed up our rendering of our projects. We also get finally the unified naming convention, so our teams stopped of creating their own dictionary in every project. So we were encapsulating code, and we even later on it was possible to reuse all the code base we created, and now it's all stored in internal library called Lego library. So, and we have a separate team that maintains this library. And our developers who work in our services, they can benefit from this because they got on their projects new code tested and checked, and they can concentrate on features and not writing similar code every day in every project. So, and later on, after creating this BEM file structure, we could separate and structure our technologies. And now on blockwise, and now blockwise we have not only CSS and JavaScript separately, but we have documentation, we have tests, and you may have anything you need there. So during these last 10 years, BEM grew into something that is bigger than the methodology, that is, by the way, tested in different scale projects, in small or big as Yandex. It's now a huge meta library inside Yandex, the internal library, but we develop our technology open source, so everything we could open source and possibly give for free to the community, we open source. So it's an open source technology with a wide community. And it's also something that we call platform, to describe that inside we have methodology, we have tools and libraries all together, and you may use it separately as you want it, or you can use it all together. And it's also will not be dead tomorrow, or I don't know, because it's almost 10 years working and we're still improving it, and we still follow, let's say, the tendencies, and we see what's going on in the market, and we use it ourselves, we bring it to the community, and we make sure the community uses this, and they also report us everything, what is going on with the technology in the world that we have no idea, because we work on Yandex services, and they are huge, and not every company and every product is like this. So, and that is funny enough that in Russian-speaking countries, BEM becomes something like a standard on the CV that you put if you want to get hired in Yandex or Mail.ru or some other companies. Then you have to know BEM as well as HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, because they use it in their own projects, and it's cheaper if you hire somebody who already knows how to use this. And I think it's also interesting to know who is developing this technology, and the people, and how the speaker before us said that everything is about people, and we agree with this. We have a very amazing team that works on the technology and that uses this technology. At Yandex there is a separate division of 30 frontenders who work on the core technology and who maintains the Lego library that our services use. And then we have frontenders from the services in Yandex who use Lego library in their projects and reports us bugs, and I work in the core team. And also we have a wider community, and this community is not only using this technology and reporting us bugs. This community is also open sourcing their parts of code, because the projects are different from company to company, from team to team, and we cannot possibly know about everything. So we know that the technology works in different kind of projects, but how it works there, this is from another part of community we get this information. And they possibly open source their libraries and their stuff that they make. And thanks to these guys, you may recognize them from the pictures, they helped us a lot during the years that our team was small and had and wasn't speaking English at all. So, and we had no English documentation, so they helped us a lot. They started to use it somehow, and they wrote a lot of articles about BEM and about their products and projects where they use it. And they also were talking on different conferences. So there is a lot of stuff you can find on internet about this. Even recently there was a rendering performance guide from Google where we have found the piece about BEM. We were surprised and we were very, very thankful for this. And at the end of this presentation there is a lot of links, so you can go and click and read everything. And there is a lot more results if you look for it on the net in English and even more in Russian, of course. In Russian-speaking countries, we moved, during the last 2 years, we moved from talking on the conferences and writing articles into more coding sessions and meeting with our developers face to face and talking about their problems, because for us it's more information. If you come to the conference, you see a lot of people, but you basically interact with maybe 10, 15, and you have no idea what's going on in their project, so you cannot possibly help them. So we moved to organizing our meetups, and this is the photo from our meetup in St. Petersburg once. So we talk on the conferences, we write articles, documentation, we do meetups, and we cannot help everyone on these meetups because not everyone can go to the cities where we make them, although we do this in Russia, in Ukraine, and other countries. So, sorry. So we do webinars and we do hackathons recently, so a lot of stuff community helped us to make. And we consult some teams because, for instance, you're a big company, you already have a lot of technology and your manager decides why not to bring another one. So we can possibly look at the code and look how your teams interact and maybe suggest something, because we have a lot of experience and we faced a lot of things internally in terms of technology and in terms of communication with people. It's also hard. You may recognize some avatars from that page, and there is a lot of bloggers, other companies that uses BEM, and in Russian-speaking countries they more use it as a platform than a methodology only. So how to start? You can start easy with reading everything about the methodology and thinking about how to build the architecture our way, or just start from refactoring your CSS. And also you can start with a platform, and you have JavaScript framework, templating engine, libraries inside. In terms of libraries we have a lot, but two maybe essential for you. One is called BEM Core, where you have all core technologies inside, but nothing about design. And the other one called BEM Components, and you have 20 more blocks there. It's basically everything you will ever need on your web page, so you can take open source library with the code and already build your project with your design. And also there is a lot of tools that open source, from building tools to writing tests for blocks, and you can try it from project start. Or you can partially install it in your project because it's compatible with different technologies you already have. So read everything here, and there is a forum, so you can talk with developers that are using this in English, in Russian, and here is the link to this presentation, so it's the same as the name of the conference on BEM at the end. We are today, and we are very thankful that we see so many great people here coming and supporting this team in the first conference on Frontend in Tel Aviv. And that's great that you help the environment and the technologies running in your region. And I think it's crucial for the development and for the future of what we do. So we are here for these 2 days, and we are happy to help you. If you have questions, come to us and ask. If you want us to show something like coding and talking about your projects, come, do not hesitate, we help and we do everything we want possibly. So thank you so much for